So this week's voice call, I'm also going to jump in voice call in the server. Um, Let me do that. And then I don't have to record anything this way because it's just on YouTube. So if you have questions or you're joining, you can go into the voice chat text channel in Discord. And other than that, I'm just going to go ahead and get started. We'll have these things be interactive. So as you find out about this in the server or wherever else, soon I'll have them. I guess I'll broadcast them once I get comfortable with this whole process. But this is how we're going to do these things from now on. I aim to make these as interactive as possible, which would mean we'll be doing interactive stuff. So not just asking and typing questions, but inviting people on for various things. So today's topic, let me go to get the wording exactly right. It is packing your crypto survival kit. And what do we mean by that? We're talking about different strategies related to staking, active trading. By active, I mean daily, weekly, monthly, annually, longer term. These types of things. Where do they fit into the spectrum of what you're trying to do with crypto, which is, we probably fall into the trap of thinking that everyone is kind of doing a similar type of thing, like, just maybe the money goals are different. But sometimes people have different goals for what these, they want financial liberty from. Sometimes they want to pursue creative passion. Sometimes they want to do nothing. Sometimes they want to start a new business. Sometimes they want to just make sure that their friends and family and friends are taken care of. So there's a lot of different goals that really there's a broad spectrum of goals across people. That's a weird way to say that. My point is that it's first your job to figure out what are your goals. That's the first thing I speak to clients about anyone who has any questions related to this stuff, like what are your goals? Most people think they have goals. A lot of people do, but some people who think they have goals don't actually have goals and don't necessarily understand, why they're trying to make money or trying to get to a certain point. Oftentimes if it's debt-based, that's pretty easy. Pay off debt, get out of debt, release that financial anxiety. And that's good. But I would also consider that, if you're doing this correctly, somewhat of a short-term goal. So I know that sounds crazy, and short-term meaning maybe it might take you a couple years, but that's relatively short. If you think about how you'd have to save up and pay something off, like student loans or medical expenses or really anything that costs a lot of money. So we want to talk about different strategies. So something we've spoken about in earlier talks is staking. There's a whole range of ways to stake. There are coins that, are becoming proof of access. So by holding them in a wallet or a place, you will get, not dividends per se, but you can generate other coins or similar coins of that. And then think of it kind of like mining, but each has its own utilitarian purpose. Each token and coin will have its own function. So I don't want to delve too much into that, but essentially the principle is that you leave coins somewhere. They create more, and you can do this to a higher degree if you pool together with other people, either using smart contracts or just passing trust on to someone that they're not going to steal your money. You can create more, which is something that I think a lot of us are interested in, which is essentially passive income. Because as much as holding on to an asset and purchasing something like Bitcoin or whatever alt we're liking at the moment, and when it appreciates in dollar value or even Satoshi value, it requires some active attention. Doesn't necessarily mean daily. It doesn't necessarily mean hourly. It doesn't necessarily mean by the minute. But it certainly requires some level of attention. And that brings us to the next part of what we're going to be looking at, which is, what is your style? What works well for you? What do you like to do? What are you good at? Sometimes these things are the same. Sometimes they're not. Most people I speak to have jobs, have things and responsibilities that prevent them from actively doing crypto 24/7. And I'll also point out some people who have the ability to do this 24/7 shouldn't be doing it 24/7. You will quickly learn, and hopefully you're paying attention, whether you're good or bad at this. If you keep taking losses and you keep going down, you need to reassess what's going on. Doesn't mean you suck at it, just means there's something that's going on there. So if you're the type of person who's really good at short-term trades, I think a lot of people think they're good at short-term trades, but in reality, they're not. I'm average to below average with short-term trades. So if I find myself looking at something 15 minutes is the lowest I'll really look. 1 minute, 5 minute charts will just screw with your head. I find that my hit percentage goes down. Now, maybe I'll hit a big one once in a while with active trading, but this is after months of doing it and holding Bitcoin for years and seeing kind of the ecosystem emerge. So there's a fair level of confidence. And even then, I'm not that great at it. So it's important to recognize where you fall on the spectrum of trading. Now, the other thing to keep in mind is relative to, whether you're good at it or not, and whether you have time for it, is what feels right for you, right? Maybe you're amazing at short-term trading, day trading, active trading. Maybe you're just incredible at it, but you really just make you happy. It's like a job for you. You have to be looking at it all the time. It's just another way of kind of transmuting the experience of going and working for someone else, but you're now your boss who's making you do something all of the time. That's not necessarily worth it. So maybe, and I found this to be the case, and everyone has a different perspective. I got a nice little Twitter discussion with someone who I really like on Twitter, Not So Fast, is the @NotSoFast, really smart dude. He's been doing this a long time, has some very good tips, but more importantly is just like not giving out tips for people to go do what he says, but is actually asking people to legitimately, look into these things himself. And so he was saying how he's moving into ZEC and what was the other one? I don't remember. It was essentially he was going to be trimming a lot of his portfolio and moving about 50% of his profits from that, or 90% of those profits from trimming them 50% into ZEC and something else. And someone wrote in and was like, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? What do you think about this? And someone wrote in and was like, you should have some VEN. I have 70% of my portfolio in VEN. And he was like, that's a terrible idea. And the guy wrote back, you should do more research. And of course, this guy's been mining and doing a lot of stuff in this field long before me and a lot of other people. And he was like, I've done my research. I just think there are going to be a lot of other coins this year that are going to outpace VEN in terms of growth. And me of a month and a half ago would have gotten upset. I would have been like, oh, this fucking guy doesn't know how good VeChain is. What's the matter with him? He thinks he's so smart. I know. Okay. So that's what I would have done a month and a half ago. This time around, though, I realized really quickly, first of all, I didn't have any emotional reaction to it. I thought about what he was saying, and he made a lot of really good points. And the fact is, there will be probably dozens of coins that outpace VEN and VeChain in terms of growth this year, and maybe over the long haul of the longevity of the entire coin's existence. I don't know. The point isn't, I don't know what those coins are. Maybe I'll find them. Maybe I'll see that they're worthy of investing in, but I'm confident in my decision of what VeChain will do and where it will fit into the ecosystem, that it didn't bother me. And I agreed with him. I wrote back. I was like, you know what? You're totally right. Like, there's going to be a lot of these things. I'm not foolish enough to think that the thing that I'm heavily invested in is going to be the best by far. Do I think VeChain is going to be one of the best coins to own? For sure. And I think it's relatively riskless too. So that's why I like it so much. But it'd be crazy for as big as we are in VEN in this server, or VET, soon to be VET on the 26th, you can't be delusional about this stuff. So I confidently trade VeChain weekly. I do move it around daily for a little bit, but most of it I don't really move around ever. I don't feel confident doing that. I trade it back in between these channels. It was up around 60,000. I think right now it's at 56,000. Just to be clear, I'm not touching this dump at all. And I don't have the time for it. I'm not cashing out of this money. We use the peer-to-peer for that if we need it. We're good to go. Ride the waves. I did sell some at the top here. I know I got into a whole VeChain thing. My bad. Hard not to. Just, chill out on the VeChain. You can buy some now if it's a little dipsy-do. Sell some at the top if it comes again. But otherwise, just don't relax. The way this... Just relax. Don't freak out is what I meant to say. The way this fits into the topic, packing your crypto survival kit, is I've learned what my strategy is relative to VeChain, which is my primary holding, and it makes me feel better about all of this stuff. So there's something else I wanted to bring up today that I just read it in the Joseph Campbell book, Goddesses, which I half seriously say, if you want to understand the market, go read that book. It's a wonderful book. And he mentions the karmic winds. And I think the karmic winds are important to look at through the spectrum of, through the lens. I said spectrum like 10 times this talk, through the lens of the market. So the prism of the market. So the karmic winds, let's see how many I can remember. One is the desire for pleasure and the aversion or fear of pain. So that's 2, right? The other two other ones are the desire for wealth and the desire to lose wealth. So we're up to 4. So far, so good. The other 2 are the desire for praise and the aversion to blame. Okay. And then the last ones are the desire for fame and the fear of losing it or being, irrelevant. So those are our karmic wins. And the reason I really love this book is Joseph Campbell's a motherfucking genius, number 1. But number 2, I think this is, again, a really, really good kind of lens to look at the market, which if you are really freaked out about losing everything you have, I mean, that's a sign. That's a sign. Your karmic winds are moving through you, which, just so we're clear about what they are, this would be a sign that your ego is running the show. And what we're trying to do here is not eliminate the ego. This is an important distinction. It's in the book as well. We're trying to relate to it, understand its function, understand when it can help us, not just pretend it doesn't exist and we have to crush it like some horrible, annoying, person leeching onto us. That's not what it is. So we can use the signs that, hey, I'm a little afraid I'm going to lose without emotionally attaching to it and use it as a signal, right? To put it in these terms. Anyway, those karmic wins I will be referring to more in the crypto space because some of the things, as I'm sure a lot of you have noticed in here, some of the things that come up in the market relating to our emotions, attachment, aversion, really carry over into other aspects of our lives. And if you haven't noticed that yet, then just keep doing it for a little bit. You will see, it's an amazing teacher of the market. And if you can't ride it comfortably, well, first of all, in cryptosphere, packing your survival, you can ride it comfortably. You just need to figure out what it is. Maybe you're the type of person, I saw someone in the server who said this, I haven't looked at my portfolio since January, the beginning of January. I'm not looking until March. That's super smart if you're not an active trader, or you're going to be upset by seeing your portfolio go down if that's what happened. There's nothing wrong with that. When that dude comes back and checks his portfolio, he's going to be happy, almost guaranteed. What is Bitcoin at? It's almost at 12,000. A lot of people are saying it's going to go 12,000, get slapped back down. Possible, but who knows? It's great if you're trying to enter to try to catch these things. I don't think you have to FOMO into it now. Just chill out, watch it for a few days. If it goes up and it's a little more expensive, okay. I sold some Bitcoin today and it's gone up a few $100s since then. Who cares? Really? This is that big of a deal. So packing your crypto survival kit. I'm glad that I have this on the screen, reminding me of what's going on. And you guys are also probably a little bit behind me if you're watching on YouTube because there's a delay. But essentially, this is what we're trying to figure out. How do you build your portfolio? If you're outside of the United States, ICOs may be a decent way to go. However, let's talk about ICOs for a second. I like ICOs. I have my first one that I invested in. I'm very late to the party, Rentberry, which is coming out, I think, later this month. I'm not exactly sure when. I think they're really cool. I think they're a great and unique and novel way of raising capital, but I'm worried that they're becoming just kind of the worst of the worst ways to raise money. Now, if everyone has free access and the pre-sales and the pre-pre-sales and the pre-pre-pre-sales are phased out, I think ICOs are super valid and a great, awesome way to get in early on a project that you believe in. But if this pattern continues of the really early people just dumping on the people when it hits the market and all even the pre-sale people, that's not good. However, there are probably going to be some very cool projects coming up. So if you live outside of the United States, and you can do them if you're inside, I did Rentberry, it's totally legal. You may want to consider allotting some of your percentage to ICOs as well. And I'd be remiss if I didn't point that out. So we got staking, we have trading, and then within trading, this is why I really do want to point this out. There are these subsets are essentially entities unto themselves. Daily, weekly, monthly, annual, longer term, they're totally different things. My clients who are in this for a year, even if they're checking regularly, they're in it for the year. Their mindset is, I'm in this for a year. It's very different if we're short-term trading to gain sats in a day. We're not thinking the same. So it's important to really understand that active trading doesn't just mean you're a day trader and you're swinging. Oh, look at you, the wolf of Wall Street. It just means like, what's your preference? What's working for you? It'd be crazy if everyone was trying to pitch, like people are doing this. They're trying to pitch that everyone can be a trader. Just learn the technical analysis. Just learn these things. That stuff is freely available for everyone. We share it in the resources channel. Everyone can learn to do Fibonacci sequences and Bollinger Bands and, support and resistance lines and Elliott waves. Like that shit is like everyone do. Personally, I'm at the point now where I think the reason this stuff works is because people think it works. It's kind of the same idea. Like the reason this reality exists is because we believe it exists. I don't want to get too off on a tangent here, but I like technical analysis. I was saying today in the CryptoSeer group that it's been a great tool for me for entry and exit points. But at the end of the day, fundamental analysis is what has made me all of my profits in crypto, without a doubt. So, and significantly more, like not even within the same ballpark. And I'm not shitting on TA. I use it every day. It's just, I don't know if it works because the math says it works or if it works because people know that it works. I also think whales are they're botting up and doing various things that are based on Fibonacci levels, and all of these different things, Elliott waves, and these things that people are talking about on Twitter. So it's good to be aware that these things are going on and they're tools. But at the end of the day, we're trying to tune ourselves. Then we don't have to worry about any of that stuff. If you didn't, let me put it this way. My biggest profits before I even knew what technical analysis was. Someone put TA in the Cryptex server, which I left like a month ago. It was horrible at the end there. But I was like, what's TA? I don't know what that is. So I'm just pointing out that people want to nerd out on stuff all of the time. It's great to nerd out if it's pleasurable for you, but if it becomes just like this thing that's going to give you an advantage, just buy a bot at that point. There's plenty of bots. Hit me up if you want one. I don't have them, but I know people will do. It's not a big deal. So yeah, that's your toolkit. I'm sure there's a lot more things. This one's a little less interactive. Let me see if there's anything in voice chat text because I am not in the area. No, if you guys have questions, it's going to take like, a few minutes to probably catch up. So I don't know. I'll just yammer on for a minute until you guys get this. If you do, or you could ask on YouTube, right? Can you do that? I don't know. Either one, voice chat, text, or YouTube. And I will get this better. And I'm not doing video because I'm not, despite what some people might think who listen to the podcast, I do not want to be a YouTube personality. This is just the easiest way to get it on YouTube, which people have requested in terms of reviewing after, because the Dropbox isn't working for everyone. So this is the easy way to do this. I'm not promoting these. They're going to playlist so you can catch them afterwards. But if you do want to participate, it's also a nice way that you can do it on YouTube or the Discord server. So I'm going to talk for like another minute. And if there are no questions, then I will stop in that time period. But yeah, everything's good. Let's do a little general market stuff while we wait for questions potentially. Bitcoin, $11,700. People are continuing, let's check out the volume. That's the important thing to look at. Did we speak about how important volume is? Volume is an indicator that I actually really believe in more than price. 393 last hour. Daily's looking better and better, isn't it? It's weird. I don't know. We'll see. A lot of people still think it's a bear channel. A lot of people still think that we're going downtown, Chinatown. We do see bears pushing now, but I don't know. If we go back down, all is good in the hood. You know what I mean? All right. I'm going to wrap it up because I don't see any questions. Thank you for joining. If you joined, and if you didn't, then yes, please speak on volume. Okay. Fritzy, you got it in there. Right under the wire. Volume. Let me put it like this. If we're making, let's say you have $1 and I have a piece of chocolate, and you want the chocolate, and I say, okay, I'll take $1 for it. And so the price is $1. Okay. And then someone else comes in and says, I will buy 1,000 of your chocolates, but I only want to pay 50 cents. Well, if we just took the average of those, then we're looking at 75 cents for the chocolate. But it's just like a sample size. If you end up like, you ever read these, they quote all these studies the sample this many people, this survey of this many people, study with this many people. Look at the sample size. The N equals. That's what it is. That's what the sample size is in those studies. N equals. What does N equal? If it's really, really a crap load of people or a huge study, that's, put a little credence into that. If it's like 6 people, it's like, well, I mean, 6 people can have totally ranging things. So when the volume is low, within a certain time span that is important to you. In this case, I was just looking at the hourly. I don't buy Bitcoin typically. I sold some today, but I don't really buy it that much anymore with fiat, so I don't really worry about it. I just, relative to other things, I keep track of it. But, when the volume is low, it doesn't necessarily mean as much. Like right now, let's take a look at Bitcoin on GDAX. Right now, the last hour, Bitcoin moved up from 11.6 to almost 11.7, then it got pushed back to like just under 11.7, and the volume was 393 Bitcoin, so that's good. The hour before that, it went up a lot, but it was only a 248 volume. Right now, about half an hour in, we're looking at around so far the same amount of volume as last hour, but it's getting pushed down to 11.630. So you want to look, those candles below all these charts on Binance, wherever you are. On GDAX, they'll show you the candles with larger volume. So I look at one that was, what hour is this? I can't see, my screen is messed up. But there's a candle on the hourly on GDAX where it was a big jump from 11,135 all the way to 11,400 in an hour. And the volume was big. So that shows you who's out there buying Bitcoin. So that's why even when you're looking at this, like, all of the alts, look at the volume. I have learned that if you buy into something and it looks like it's dumped and it's going to go back up, like here's Ven, it's popping back up as we speak. I didn't look at volume, but I see the big candles and all of the green ones are outperforming the volume. So that can mean one of two things, that people are going to buy this and hold it, or they're day traders trying to swing this at the top. So they're selling it at 60,000, 61,000. Buying it back here at 57,000. Then there are the people who are like, no. Once we go up to 58,000 or 59,000, we're going to sell that off. I'm going to go bring it down to 56. Then we'll buy back there. You just want to be aware of all these things. Also, we'll do a candle discussion, all the different types of candles, doji hammers and shooting stars and all these fun names. Again, technical analysis, it's good to use these things, but technical analysis to me is a reflection of psychology and consciousness, more importantly. And I think if you understand that and what's at play right now, you can do this without freaking out too much. And when you throw in things like staking, it's fun. So, okay, that's it. Now I'm really going to cut this off. Thank you for joining, and we'll have one on Thursday. Also, found daycare and babysitter. So welcome to more stuff soon. All right.